Hello everyone, I'm Patrick from the Seattle Riichi Mahjong Club.
And I'm Edwin, also from the Seattle Riichi Mahjong Club.
So this is SakuraCon Commentate Your Game. Um, in East, we actually have someone who didn't give their name. They wanted to remain anonymous. So we will refer to them from here on as Nobody. Uh, in the South Wind, we have Gina. Um, I don't know who she is, but let's see how they play. Similarly, not really sure who Nick is either inside the West Wind. So yeah, we have. I'm glad that we have a lot of new people around to play Mahjong. Finally, we have Kaji in the Northwind. Kaji is from the Lingwood group, along with someone named Kevin, and so he's someone that we are somewhat familiar with, and we'll see how he plays as well. So starting off, nobody's
The
east.
door of the staircase
Yep.
is a 4 month.
Just looking at nobody's hand, um, has that Hatsu pair, which means that should be pretty easy to call. And the rest of nobody's hand is also pretty fast, besides that 1-2 Penchan. Now looking at Gina's hand, there's that one pin which is pretty stray, and then the rest of it looks pretty fast as well.
There's definitely some parts to work with. Um, Same goes for Nick. He's certainly got some pairs going on.
Yep. Unfortunately,
Kaji,
pretty slow. But nobody got the third Hatsu, so it's it's going really nicely for nobody.
same goes with Gina.
What did Gina get? Oh,
Guanmon?
oh, that's a nice draw. Nick,
Gina's your King Shan 10. Nick, a bit to go there.
yeah, drop the 9 mon, draw the 8, the classic backfire, and then Kaji is got the honor tile. Um, Unfortunate fact of Mahjong life. Nobody, yeah, got the 7th so, which means that dropping that 1-2 Penchan is probably in their best interest. Nick, yeah, just drop the east because there's not really much Nick can do otherwise. Unfortunate for nobody. Um, start dropping the 1-2, draw the 3. At this point, you just have to drop the 2-3 around in, right? In order to avoid freezing.
Yeah, once you committed to it, it's unfortunate that you drew the one tile you needed. You do about it at that point.
Yeah. Oh, Nick decided to drop the 5 pin. Oh. Gina is already 10-5. So, I mean, not Gina, nobody, sorry. So, this is actually a very strong weight. I don't know if nobody will realize this, but the weights are going to be 4 so, 7 so, and 2 pin, uh, which goes for a total of 7 tiles that you can wait on. Hopefully, nobody recognizes this because this is a
I'm not
very
sure because you look at how nobody's broken their hand up. Looking at the 5, 6, 7 as a meld, and I'm not sure they see the 4
yeah.
as a possibility.
This is unfortunately a very common a very common shape for beginners to jumble on, because you see the 5-6-7, but you don't see the 5-6 and 7-7-7 shape. So looking at everyone else's hand though, Nick, see, no one else can really do much, so they're just going for their hands as per usual.
Ah, nobody's noticed.
Nice. Which, so, fortunately or unfortunately, Nick, has that Forso in his hand, so it's somewhat likely that Nick will deal in if, he tries to push. Oh, but he got the Tuso, which he discards. So at this trajectory, Nick might deal in, but we'll see if he can play around that.
Yeah, with the Tuso, it actually was a saving grace for him based upon what nobody had discarded. It might have been better off for nobody to have, or not, for Nick to have discarded, like, say, the 2 1 pins because of the Suji on the 4.
Yep. So Gina decides to pursue though.
Ended up drawing, was it the right side of that 5-6 Manju weight?
I think so. This puts Gina at a strictly worse weight than nobody though, because they both share the 4-7, but nobody has the additional 2 pins. And at the same time, I'm not sure if they're playing by head bump rules. If they are, then nobody would call the win before Gina can. The backfire on
At the same time,
yeah.
I was gonna say, at the same time, Gina, it's relatively safe in the 3-set was dangerous to discard, but if she was gonna go continue pushing her hand, her same weight, at least in the same suit as nobody, isn't too bad because they're not sharing the same weight. They just happen to in this case.
Yeah, that's a good point too. This means that Gina has a low possibility of dealing in, so let's see how this plays out. Oh. Yeah, nobody tried to see if that 6-0 might have been part of that complex weight, and correctly decides that it was not. So good call on that. And then Nick is making the good choice to just straight up bail, which means that dropping that Forso is probably out of question for now.
Dang it, we were on the same one.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice. Nobody sumoed it. Riichi Sumo Hatsu for 3 and 40.
shoot.
3.
Yeah. As dealer, that's 26 all.
Yeah.
I am sad. You definitely just blocked me.
Ah,
The same one.
sorry, and I've got these.
Yeah, you
ones
had all
right
of
here.
them.
2,000.
Your,
2,000 off, please.
your pawn might have screwed it
I know,
because that.
So halfway through this, I awkwardly realized that I'm not just waiting on this, I'm also waiting on possibly this to come out, this to come out, and this to come out. And I was like, crap, did I put myself... No, I'm fine still. So...
Do I have to pay more because I was also in Dubai? Or
No,
it?
just 2,000. I do get your Riichi stick, though. I'm
That's
sorry.
You lose that 1 extra.
No, I deserved that. And 16.
Bonus 1.
What, is it 10? Oh, that's right. Your phone is dead. I can't even ask you. Never mind.
5.
So thanks to this win, nobody gets to keep their dealership. And then, round, 1 homba.
Story is 2 of characters. 2 months. I can actually lift up my hand.
You gotta lift, bro.
So, oh man. looking at nobody's hand, nobody seems to, again, have the nice Yakuhai pair in his chun. So it seems like they're gonna be going towards just trying to call really fast again, and just generally trying to like, get senpai with even a 1,000 point.
Gina has some decent shapes going on. With a couple of blocks there, like a 778 and a 556 that she can definitely work with.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 away from an Itsu.
Nick's Itsu is kind of one of those probably not going like really flaky Itsus because it's a 5, 6, 7, 8. That can go a lot of different directions. So I generally haven't had much success getting Itsu out, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right?
And then Nick decides not to call on that 9-so in order to force the Itsu, which is the right call, I think.
Yeah, it's the pair is still questionable, and he'd have to get the 4. He couldn't use the 7.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. On the other hand, Kaji actually gets a North triplet. He is North Wind, so this is actually very nice for him. Gina is keeping that chun just tucked away, which makes nobody's life a lot harder because they can't call. Kaji is just getting a bunch of triplets, and that's very nice. I don't think Kaji will be able to get a toy, but it's not out of the question.
I think he's looking more trying to work around that form on. I think he wanted to keep that to see if he can't get a door, or at least somehow work the door into that shape.
Yeah, for sure. His next discard will likely end up being either the 3-pin or the 7-pin, depending on what he gets next. Oh, the 1-pin. That's a very awkward draw, honestly, because now he's stuck with a hanchan. But it does put him in Ishanten.
I mean, it doesn't really help you, but it's still kind of funny.
It does not look like anybody else has had any luck with their draws.
Yeah.
And Kaji, in the meantime, if he really wanted to, could push for some no, actually, probably couldn't have gone for a Chanta shape. There was something possibly there, but he's already Ishanten, so it's probably not recommended.
Nobody gets to complete their chun triplets, so once again that hidden Yakuhai power. Maybe nobody's a Saki character.
Oh, I love that. Play at a Linwood store. It's like Hello Kitty
Oh.
the person brings in. And so, like,
Kaji gets into a nice shape and decides to drop the 1-pin because this is still Ishanten, but at the same time, if he happens to draw the 2-so or the last 8-pin, then he's not sad, as opposed to before where he would be sad. Kaji's, Gina's hand is looking to shape up, to be quite honest. She has that 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7 so shape now, and the 7, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5 is pretty nice, honestly. I think.
Yeah.
The only thing is that Gina still only has 4 blocks, so she'll have to force that 5th block somewhere. It probably would have been better to drop the chun at this point, in order to like open up your hand to more tiles, basically.
Yep, I believe. Do I get something special if I do it?
Tell what she's drawn.
If I discard 10
Oh.
cards, though, you all
See, that the 2-pin actually might have been better to keep. because then at least that guarantees her pair. She could drop the chun, and then work on like a 7-8 Manzu shape, looking for 6-9.
Yeah. Gina might have kept the tune just a bit too long. It was good thinking to keep it for the first 6 turns. I think the time to drop it was like last turn basically. But that's just my opinion.
How could you do this?
Did you discard the Dora?
So Nick has dropped the Dora in favor of the 4-mon.
I think it's because Nick sees a better shape in that, although I'm not sure if that's quite true.
Immediately throw the Dora.
In the meantime, Kaji's drawn another pair.
Yeah.
It's called the 9-pin, trying to go for a quick tempi, but we'll find a little bit of difficulty in that 2-4-4-6 Sozu shape.
Oh, look.
Meanwhile, has drawn it to tempi
Reaching
because
on
she
the-
is out there and is now making that her pair.
Yep. So, unfortunately, all 3 of them are in nobody's hand, and the only possibility is if nobody decides to bail at this point. It doesn't seem like it though, given that the Tuso is not quite extremely dangerous,
Nope.
but it wasn't safe either. So, we'll see how it goes.
Give us new information. You're such a jerk face. Such a jerk face, Riichi.
Imagine if Kaji draws another set, he'll be really pushing, but I think he's committing to the hand regardless.
Alright,
Yeah.
so let's think here. I don't want to deal with you.
If nobody wants to continue with this candy,
Nope.
then
Nope.
Nobody actually dropped the 3-mon, which might have been a little dangerous just because it's near Dora. Though I guess they figured that because of the 4-mon discard, it was semi-safe.
So I'm like, if I ever get it, I just can't give it to you.
Look.
Kaji is pivoting because
confirm or
he
deny
happened to
what it
draw the
is,
second
but I'm
5-mon,
amused that
and
I
so he can
chose
drop the
it.
2-so, which is guaranteed to be safe.
I think I totally
Good thinking.
know what it is. It ain't that.
Not that.
I feel like wants to just look at your hand, even though that'd be not chop it, I'd just be cheating horrendously.
It was real dumb. It's the kind of play that a player should not make when they're being streamed.
So, thanks to that
Recorded.
7-pin discard, nobody actually is able to get into Tenpai,
Alright, you're
waiting on the
my
4-so
real
and the
bad play.
5-mon.
Nope.
Unfortunately, the 2 5-mons are in Kaji's hand. So, and one of the 4-sos is in Gina's hand. So it's effectively hell
One
weight.
thing that she knows will just never come out, but she is in Tenpai and has declared
Nick
it.
drew the 3-mon.
That.
Unfortunately for Nick,
It will
he
never
had
happen.
dropped the 2-mon earlier. So this puts him in an awkward position.
But it is the best choice. If I'm gonna win a hand, I'm gonna do it with style.
Oh, absolutely. 13 orphans. All the way. You can't
yeah, I
defend
mean,
sumo with such
I don't know if he was trying to make the 4-mon his pair, but he'll have to somehow work around it now.
He made a very aggressive play with that 6-mon. I guess he's still going for it despite the various backfires in his hand.
I got 2 games earlier. It was like garbage hands.
It's gonna be okay.
I know.
It's gonna be okay.
No,
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, no,
It's gonna be great.
no high Monzu discard after the reach, and
Look, it's
4-mon
not
and then a
about the points in my
7-mon
head, it's
discard.
about me thinking it's
You'd
fun.
think that he might have a
But unless
7-7-8?
you know all the points,
7-7-8 or a
it's
6-7-7.
definitely about
Yeah.
certain points that you just remember.
I'll have a discard like maybe just 5 certain dials.
Yeah, I think Kaji and nobody have picked up on the fact that he possibly had a 6-7-7, and that's why they kept their 5-mons. So, ooh, that 2-mon discard
Is
was
it the
very
door
aggressive.
now though? Because it technically could be.
It's not.
Kaji is really going for it, as opposed to dropping the 2-pin, which is guaranteed to be safe
It's okay.
against
it's fine.
Gina.
Nonsense out.
but not against nobody. Actually, I didn't realize that. Looking at their looking at nobody's discard pile.
Are you
So-
proud of my choice?
100% positive.
I wish I knew.
100% positive.
But are you proud
I'm
of my
really
choice?
hoping this goes to 10 pi. Let me just tell you that.
Nick drew another 6-mon. I guess you just dropped that again.
But if
Yeah,
you
there's not much else at this point.
You had Chitoitsu 5 turns ago. Why didn't you go for Chitoitsu? It's not that.
No, it's not.
Okay, Kaji dropped
Fun fact, that's,
2-pin
that's in
anyways,
my
It ain't
discard.
this either.
Nope.
and it's actually in 10 pi for 6-9.
Actually, yeah.
Nope.
Hey, you don't know that the rest of my hands
Amazing
also
play from
hits.
Kaji, navigating this reach and dealer call,
It's obvious.
and still getting to 10 pi.
Shush, don't worry about it.
Nick just draw the last.
And you have the other pair.
Nick drew the
Did
Yep.
he's tempai for
Team 2.
tempai for Itsu.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
10 pi for Itsu with head bump against Kaji.
You're not gonna get last tile.
Yeah, I get the last time.
You're not gonna win on last tile. I'm sorry.
No, but I get the last time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Haite is just last tile. Okay, sorry.
Do you actually have all the red dragons?
Really don't.
I may or may not have the rest of
I
the
guess he's
Red
just
Dragon.
going for it.
We're not gonna reach it.
At this point, may as well. Especially because it's CG to the 6-mon.
10 pi.
Everyone is 10 pi because everyone
I'm
decided
so
to push for this.
Tempo.
Everybody's 10 pi? Alright. It's a draw.
Yep.
I figured it was
So
way
who
more
is- who
fun
is-
to do this over
You
this.
have that.
Dragon.
You have that. So I'm waiting on a dead weight. Okay. Alright. You guys are all jerks. You're all jerks.
Well, okay, my choices were wait on another one of these, and I was like, that's boring. Let's wait on the
Wait
dragon.
on the one dragon that isn't out
I
yet.
finally had a hand that had like a really nice 3-sided weight, and I was like, maybe
Oh,
we get there.
is it gone? Does it stay there?
It stays.
It stays not there somewhere.
It seems like they don't know where to put the Riichi stick, so they're putting it in
I'm sorry.
Gina's
I was being terrible
Riichi stick
last
spot.
round, and I forgot to do that. Bonus 2 now.
I guess Gina gets to start off with a double reach.
4. Oopsies. Dora is 5. It's special.
Normally, what you would do if you're playing on a table is that you'd have it set off to the to your right side in the corner. Have to make a call. You would just push those sticks up and then slide in your tiles below it.
Yeah. The Seattle group likes to put the Riichi sticks and Homba sticks in the middle, but I think it's more standard to just put it on your right side where the calls are. So nobody makes a very fast discard because they recognize that the Hatsu is kind of by itself and they're not going to go for Honitsu. So you can just discard early.
Having an okay time. Let's just talk about it. There's no
And
reason to
looking
jump
at
up
their
there.
hand, yeah.
Soon.
I'm only up 6,000.
Seems to have like a very straightforward, gonna be some kind of reach hand. Unless they decide to go for something fancy.
I had a round here where we were only doing the hat, and
There's a couple loose tiles in Gina's hand, but there's definitely some shapes that she can work with her hand.
each
Yeah.
of us had like 4. It was really bad.
Looking at Nick's hand,
It kept getting no 10 every time.
it's very tempting to go for Titoitsu, but I think the better call is to go for Toi Toi or like at least some kind of Yakuhai.
No matter how hard we tried.
South 4 bonus from nothing.
You're already at 4 players at this point.
Everyone's not even remotely close to 30,000. Really bad.
Tone, yep.
And
Hey, look, it
Somebody's
wasn't
got
me
it.
this
Somebody's
time.
got it.
We'll
Somebody's got Yakuhai. Someone can start my dealer.
just look to continue to get a quick hand here with 1,600 points extra out in front.
Yep. Nick can actually go for Honitsu as well. They're all valid options. I guess it depends on what comes out of Gina's hand, and it probably won't be the T-pin.
This is super cool. So
Yeah, if the only way Nick could realistically consider is if he got the 2-pin, because that's the hardest weight out of everything that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the second you were like, this weight's terrible. I'm like,
So at some point, nobody's gonna drop the 9-pin, and that's when Nick will have to decide whether to go for Honitsu or Toi Toi.
style is now. Oh my god.
green.
We made mistakes sticks?
Red,
Nope.
white, it's green. No, we're totally safe right now. That just scared me for a second.
There was a moment.
If it was
But he
this,
has quite a few middle tiles that he can work with. Um,
I was like,
It's time to die.
there's a possibility. No, not quite Sanshoku, but
he discarded this first.
depending upon what he draws, it could possibly be there.
It's one of those Sanshokus that Moriyama could probably get, but not us. Oh, Nick got the 7 pin, so at this point, yeah, you're gonna. I guess you may as well go for Sanshoku.
Oh no, you mean for Honitsu?
Honitsu, yeah, sorry, Honitsu. Oh. And nobody managed to complete their 6, 7, 8, but at the cost of dropping that 9 pin. So now Nick is in Tenpai for the 2 pin Honitsu. This is a very nice 3900 hand from Nick, plus the home bus. Oh no, it's actually it's a Mangan because of the Dora.
The only problem with it is that based upon his discards, you'd be a little worried that he'd have a Honitsu shape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
None of them hit. Oh, Riichi.
So you can choose either for the Shanpon or for the Kanchan weight. I guess people are slightly okay with dropping Yakuhai, but yeah, with the Kanchan you can pivot into the Ryanmin. In his case, he can actually, if he draws a 7 pin, or the 4 pin, then he can actually get a 258 weight.
That's the Dora.
For now, he's deciding to keep the 2 pin shape, maybe thinking that the 3 pin might make less dangerous, but any Pinzu at this point is probably a little questionable.
South 4, I'm down
Yeah.
like 8,000. Absolutely.
So Gina would be able to use the 2 pin,
Well,
but
everyone wanted to step by, so
Kaji is
nothing went
definitely not
wrong.
able to, unless he figures something out. Nobody can probably force it
Nobody
in.
won, so I didn't
Well,
lose.
nobody just drew the 2 pin and
Yeah.
has discarded the 2 so as a result.
Yeah. The question is whether nobody will decide to keep that 2 pin towards the end, because the 1 pin is equally dangerous from nobody's perspective.
You could also just punt and wait for see if somebody else draws it, discards a tile that one of those 2 tiles.
Yeah. Like Gina is possibly gonna be dropping a 1 pin, depending on what she draws. So.
Speak of the devil.
Do not tempt the wrath of a chicken.
Oh, nobody got to Tenpai, so this is like the critical moment. Let's see what happens. And Gina discards the 2 pin?
I mean, nobody.
Sorry, nobody. Yeah, so
No, nobody's.
nobody discards the 2
And-
pin into the room. 86 or 83? 80. Wait. This is wrong.
You know,
22.
I'm real glad I didn't drop that then.
It wouldn't have mattered.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, this should be a Mangan.
Yeah, it should be.
52.
Chun Honitsu Dora.
Tiny hand is tiny, but gets rid of my deal around. Yeah. Give a bonus.
Did you reach her?
1600.
No, she did last round.
1600, bonus 2, 22.
Get back on
Oh, I'm.
I guess
Hmm.
the people at the table didn't realize it was Honitsu, or they have house rules because they decided that everyone was new enough and they wouldn't, they would only play by Sanyaku. I guess that's possible.
10.
Oh, baby.
I can't do the fancy flip, so I'm not gonna try.
Anyways, nobody only paid 1600 for that, so let's see how it goes.
Unlimited corner works.
Somewhere in the middle tower.
I'm
So looking at Gina's hand, a lot of stray honor tiles, but there are some decent shapes. That there's a completed 2, 3, 4, and then there are a bunch of pinzu sort of clumped together, so that's nice. But it looks pretty slow overall, in my opinion.
But that's besides the point. Because then, like, all of my progress during those first 2 dealer rounds is basically went for nothing.
Nick has that nice.
It's slow, but there's possibly there's definitely tiles that Gina could work around.
Yeah. Gina's isn't amazing, but it's not terrible either.
Just a regular con.
Nick has the nice East pair, and Kaji
there was no
also has a.
home
Oh,
from Nick, so
Kaji
we're
has
good.
the Green Dragon.
Not immediately murdered.
But he won't be able to con in it.
Nobody's hand is also it's straightforward, and I think it's probably the closest to being fast for whatever definition of fast you want to use.
I mean, I probably should, but
There was a moment.
It like genuinely just scared the crap out of me.
Seems like Gina is playing it very safe, just dropping tiles close to the edge instead of dropping the honor tiles.
It's terrifying. Oh my god.
Meanwhile, Kaji is advancing his hand pretty nicely, I think.
Elvi is just drawn into possible Sanshoku type shapes with that force out draw. But he'll need help in terms of finishing some of his melds if he really wants to see that through.
Yeah. Nick's hand is progressing very slowly. Unfortunate.
So somebody is going for what possibly looks like a Sanshoku with that 2-3 or that 3 call.
Yeah, the nice thing about nobody's hand is that it's a guaranteed Tanya at the very least. So even if the Sanshoku doesn't work out, there's still the nice backup plan, and nobody is in the lead, so it's in their best interest to just go fast. Yeah. Kaji gets his Hatsu now, and Kaji already has his 5 blocks, so it seems like Kaji is just dropping dangerous tiles quickly, while still keeping his options open. Meanwhile, because of that call, nobody isn't getting much.
there we go. It's dead. All right,
Hey,
Nick,
don't
you
be
do
like
one
that,
more.
but do. Ew. Dealers. Oh wait.
Kaji reciprocates
Sorry.
Nick and gives him the tone. So now,
Wind round.
I think Nick is eyeing a possible Sanshoku on the 1, 2, 3. It's very far out, but it's not impossible.
Waste again.
I am
Oh.
here to
Gina is
murder
rewarded for keeping her honor tiles with the white dragon pair.
Waste my
That's nice.
13 orphans wait.
But Nick gets the 369 shape.
Boy, my hand
Very
is
awkward.
so after that.
And decides to drop the 6 pin.
Fortunate, are you kidding me?
I think dropping the 9 pin would be better here, because you preserve basically everything that the 6 pin covers. That the 9 pin covers.
Perhaps he's thinking is that he's already got his shapes made already, and that the 3 and the 9 were going to be discarded anyways. So there was no point in keeping any of them, at least in his mind, probably.
The problem is that his shapes are like, he has a bunch of kanchans in his hand, and so keeping the 6 pin leaves open the possibility of pivoting over to a rearmament if he draws a
became
5
very
pin or the 7
available.
pin.
No, absolutely.
So because of that, he's sort of limiting himself.
I know,
I think.
what was I thinking, right? But I can't just add on to it like Jin, that's kind of weird, you know?
Anyways, he draws the 1 cell, and yeah, just drop the 9 pin at this point. There's not really any point in keeping that.
Oh, I'm good, thank you though.
I take it in the spirit which it was given. Spite.
Kaji is Ishanten,
Why you're such a hilarious
and is keeping the south tile as a safe tile.
tab, actually. I'm like,
Pretty good. Whereas I'm not sure what nobody drew, but seems to be causing them some thoughts.
It's like he had drawn another 2 pin, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's kind of a difficult situation to think about. Yeah.
Nobody has gone for this. No, wait. That's not a Sun Shokus.
That nobody's not going for a Sancho.
Isn't he? He's, in fact, he's still Ishanten at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is fine.
give me more
Nobody
stuff.
is leaving open the Sanshoku chance. With that 2-3-4. So I think that's what's going through their mind right now.
Well, I could call it, I just couldn't win off
You,
it.
I mean, you could, but no.
I could, but it'd be weird.
You'd still be given points in the tables.
Yeah.
Kaji manages to call into Tenpai with that 5-6-7. Unfortunately, it's a Shanpun weight, but that also means that it can be easily transformed into a Ryeonmin if he draws a Remon, 5-so, or 7-so.
I'm super excited about that.
I got dragon.
Gina, meanwhile, completes her Yakuhai shape,
Yaku,
Shut up.
Shut up.
Leave my Yaku alone.
and
Were you like
They were ruining
Senpai, yes, waiting on the 2-so 5 pin.
Want to see it a third time?
At this point, it just seems like everyone's seen. Oh, okay. Kaji draws and sumos his Kumon for a Go Me hand, except it's plus. It's not 1 hombo, so it is just Go Me. 300, 500.
It's 1/3.
So,
You get an extra 100 points.
I'm pretty sure my hand was rhythm.
So like that would have been
So I
super
didn't get
cool.
much.
5.
You get 5.
So like that would have been super cool.
you said 3-5 split? My bad.
It'd be
It
super
is.
cool if
I
I got
heard
like one
3-5
of those.
and I'm like 3,500, right? Obviously.
My hand was definitely garbage, but I had dragons, so.
You had a hand going. I had Tanya at some point.
Great, on to East 3.
Taylor.
Be close between all 4 players.
No.
No, I was
No,
dealer.
a dealer.
No
Oh,
roll.
sorry. I saw the roll happen and I assumed that meant someone else was in charge.
3.
Yeah, so far, the only big hand from their perspective is the one that nobody got. But other than that,
Start us off, Nick. You
I
are
was
the
waiting
dealer.
Very
for the rest of the dead roll to be moved. I was being a little slow.
Dora is 6 of character.
Yeah, got the red 6 too. It is if you believe.
so starting off with Nick's hand, it seems like he has that pair of white dragons. Or is that a pair, or is that just a single tile? That's a
It's
single.
just a single. He's got 2 He's got 2 notes.
Okay. It's hard to tell because of perspective. But other than that, Nick seems to have some nice shapes in his hand. He has the 7-8, and the 3-4, 2 norths. So I think it's just a very straightforward pin hand.
South.
West, you're north. Because you're the last
Looking at
one active,
Kaji,
so the north one blows.
Kaji seems to have a nice Sanshoku chance for the 7-8-9.
We want out of this dealer round right now.
Yeah, with 2 of them already confirmed, it makes it a lot easier when you're Sanshoku sitting on the edge.
Yep. Nobody called the one. I think they're going for a toy, like deciding very early on. Meanwhile, Gina is just
Possibly.
yeah. Gina is going for a very straightforward hand. Has the nice 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a 5, 6, 8, 8. Yeah, just straightforward, good mahjong.
Because I brought it in a PS2 case. I don't have time to go home and do one.
Was saying you get used to it.
Like over here. It's no longer WRC.
It's redundant.
Gina decided to drop that 4-pin very early. I guess she decided that because she has her shapes, just drop the dangerous tiles now. But it might be a bit premature, I think. Might be better just drop the west in this case. Because
I think part of it may have had to deal with the fact that I believe she had drawn the Tuso on feeling about an Itsu shape, and with that, and like extraneous at that point.
yeah, the Itsu is definitely possible. The only problem being that you're relying on a penchan, and then that 4-so isn't guaranteed. If you get a 7-so instead, then you're stuck with basically trash in your hand. So, yep, like just like that. So it might, especially because it's early on, it might be better just stay flexible and drop the west. Meanwhile, Kaji decides to keep the 6-so and decide to drop the 3-5 pin shape instead.
Is it hot, spicy garbage? Because that's how I play.
Waiting on absolute bullshit as usual.
I guess, yeah.
She draws the aisles, hopes they work.
That's definitely a bad call. What we're
Nick
doing.
is
It is,
calling?
but now your hands open, do you have a triplet?
Is it south?
It's not, it's east. So
Nick doesn't really have a Yaku right now, right?
the commentary on this is gonna
They
be god awful.
don't-
I love it already.
Not at this point, no.
Forward to.
Nick
I'm
basically
just
needs to turn this
pretending that the video
into
isn't gonna be real.
a Honitsu in order to
I'm sorry, did anybody
in order to
want
win
the
off his
garbage
hand.
can? Okay, great, cool.
Unfortunately, that might be a bit hard because of that 2-mon drop and the 1-mon call from nobody.
Don't worry, I ate my hand to make you look good.
Meanwhile, Kaji's hand is kind of going nicely, except he's starved for a pair. If he really wants that, oh, he dropped the Sanshoku. I missed that before. So he's still gonna be starved for a pair though, unless he plays this, unless he gets lucky and just draws his pair immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't feel into that.
Sumo's a
If you're not
Doesn't seem like nobody is able to complete their play toy either. They're thinking very hard about how to go about this hand.
all one suit is a doctor.
I mean, what's a win condition against Tenpai over and over and over again?
Gina draws another Tuso.
It's like a normal person would think.
Really help, and at this point, the west should just be discarded.
I'm confident you messed up.
I had a, like my brain was like, this other thing I have in my hand clearly counts for points. It does not.
Gina definitely seems, from what we've seen, Gina's very conservative about dropping her honor tiles. And that's good up to a certain point, but I think it's kind of hampering her efficiency a bit too much.
You know what? No, we're just gonna keep playing spicy garbage.
It seems like she's very undecided about what to drop here. And she goes for the 1-so, which means that she does not leave open the option for Pinfu or for Itsu. But it also means that she'll be able to drop the west when she gets into the senpai.
Which is now confirmed to be at least safe for the time being, with Kaji dropping that his what they drew.
Yeah.
Everything's terrible.
It's okay. It's only being recorded and going on the internet.
And being judged by thousands of Japanese people everywhere.
So Nick is still gonna be struggling to get a Yaku. He dropped the 1-mon
go
last
back to
turn,
being
and I think it's
anonymous?
because of fears of getting
I wrote
into
nobody, so
Furitan because of the 2-mon.
Don't
my only
worry.
concern is
I will go
hopefully
cross our
he
names
realizes that he doesn't have a Yaku. Because if he thinks that he is South Round or that he is the South
I mean, yeah, squawking
win,
works.
then that could lead to a jumbo if he calls on a 2-5.
Quick, Gina, deal me
Well,
three.
that and the one.
Somehow find a way to get a bunch of Easts in my hand.
Okay.
Okay, so Gina now decides to drop the West.
I like this one for now.
I mean, unfortunately, there's
I
already.
just use that Yaku. That'd be sweet.
And Nick is giving up all the chances, so
Probably not. Let's pretend. Because we
I think Nick doesn't realize that he has no Yaku.
Toy Toy, just call Ultra.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think, like, can I
Other than throw some
somehow
Everybody's
turn these scrapes into
secretly into
triplets?
Toy.
I am glad I tossed that.
Pick a suit, get rid of the other two.
Unfortunately for nobody, he's drawing shapes that look like he'll like his runs and things like that, but it won't actually help him with his hand because he's in the same boat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you commit very early to a hand like Toy Toy, which, despite being very callable, is actually very slow, because each of your groups only have two tiles to them, whereas if you have something like a Ryanman, then you have a possible 8 tiles that you can complete your group with, or even a Kanchan, which has a total of 4 tiles.
Actually gonna just go
So,
for a trash play?
Toy Toy is actually a very slow hand, to be quite honest, and I wouldn't suggest going for it unless you really need to, or you have extra value.
We just threw ours away. Don't worry about it.
Gina draws another 6, so
I could instead.
At this point, I guess Gina decides that it's better to just go for a Tutetsu, and I wouldn't blame her, but we'll see.
Like it more. That's
Abandon my 10
the issue will be that right now all her weights are on the Sozu suit, which she has almost not dropped at all.
Gary needs a new pair of shoes.
Hey, some of these likelihood of her a little bit harder.
spicy
Yeah.
hot garbage.
I need the hot garbage right now.
Well, the good. On the other hand, it seems like Nick is finally deciding to build up
Can you stop?
Manzu, which means that he is no longer Senpai, but
No way he can.
he didn't have his tiles to begin with, so it's fine. Ooh, nobody is actually in Senpai, but 310.
Show it to me.
Damn it,
Show it to me.
damn it.
Show it to me one time.
I can't.
One time.
It's ruined everything.
Great.
Nobody theoretically has a 5-7-8 weight, but because of the early 5-pin discard, they can't actually win
I won't fix it. It just means I'm doomed.
win off of other people. And it's especially dangerous if because it's much more likely to get the
You know, maybe we do
8-pin
just get
out
rid
than
of
the
it.
7-pin out.
So, do both these sets, yeah, both these sets are
Instead.
I mean, safe discard, right?
Nick manages to get back into
Oh,
Senpai,
I'm so. Oh,
waiting on 9 mon in the north. That's pretty awesome. I didn't think he could turn it around, but he proved me wrong.
oh, who needs it? Wow.
Nobody discards the Chun,
Needs it.
but it might have been better to actually keep the Chun and just wait on that in order to get out of Freeton.
Yeah. Especially since you don't see it discarded either.
Yeah, it was actually very dangerous. Just looking at the field.
I mean, yeah, it's
Oh.
also my discard pile.
Nick discards the 8 mon for the 7 mon, putting himself out of Senpai, I think.
none of these hands are what I need to get back.
No!
Says the person behind.
Move your wall back a bit.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm distraught.
It was so nice.
Now it's
Kept
garbage.
that 6 characters.
That one specifically.
Okay. Hey, it's better than runner, runner, runner.
Why is it playing Castlevania music?
You're playing Tetsuman?
Awesome. 7-pin.
Run. And they can't
Toy Toy.
Oh no, nobody called Roan on that.
Came back out
That's
of
a jumbo.
came out with some
But I'm not sure if they realized that.
It does not appear to be the case. particular case here, as Patrick was mentioning earlier,
I went from being in Tenpai, could have probably been fine.
discarded the 5-pin that he's in furry 10 because even though complete a Yaku, it theoretically completes his hand, was not actually able to call off of anybody. But in this particular case, it looks like nobody is in the person, but
No one at the table.
like no one at the table recognized that this was the case.
Yeah. Furry 10 rules are one of the more complicated things to explain to the beginner, so I don't blame them for not realizing. It's just something to keep in mind that even if it's not the tile that you are, even if the tile in your discard pile is not the one you call Ronan, and even if it doesn't give you a Yaku, it still counts towards Furry 10.
So we're at East 4, and it looks like this, with the 1 hour time limit, one of the final hands of this game.
They pass on it. He doesn't call south again for some reason.
I'm not gonna.
I'd say do it for no reason.
Still everybody is within striking distance of each other.
Yeah.
No, there's a video online of the biggest it's genre wrong.
I think if you were just look purely at the points, because Kaji is if Kaji was not dealer, you would normally need Mangan Sumo, but because he is dealer, he can go for, I think, well, he has an easy chance to go for a 7700 hand, and still win. Otherwise, he can sumo
I was trying to figure out what the hell
a 5800 hand.
I mean, waiting on the win rate's not terrible.
No,
He could.
he still needs to get the 77 sumo, I think.
Yes.
I mean, that was garbage.
Or to sumo, say, a 4-on 20 fu hand, that's still only 26 all. Like, no, that would be enough. At 2600 all, it'd be a swing of over 10,400, which would be enough.
Yep.
I want something to just address it as.
Judging from his hand so far, a reach sumo Tanya Pinfu hand looks definite possibility.
If he gets a Dora, then he doesn't have to rely on the sumo.
Watch us actually make you come to that, like, when he reveals, like, data super hand.
On the other hand, nobody's hand is actually pretty fast. It seems pretty easy for nobody to just call into Tanya very quickly. There is the awkward one tweet shake, but that's pretty easy to deal with in my opinion.
I love Final Fantasy.
Unfortunately for Nick, on the other hand, his best bet if he wants a fast hand is to try to hook for a Sanshoku, but otherwise he just has to go for a Richinomi,
Oh, that one's also
which also does not give him many points.
So when it ends with just to be continued.
But it would, well, depending upon who he hit with,
was high level trash.
enough to move him into second.
Yeah, if they are purely aiming for second, then a lot more possibilities open up. Unfortunately, 1-3 on Gina would not get him into second.
Cosplay as an organization. Like, why? I'm like, that was a really good story.
But the Gina could definitely get a with a couple good draws, like a Riichi Pinfu Dora hand, which would certainly be enough to move Gina into second.
Yeah.
thought the reason you did it because the only thing you need to do
I have the hair.
Gina
like, the
seems to be
tonsils,
drawing
and the whole
nice
thing,
tiles,
and the contacts,
so
and the makeup and stuff. I can play through the game, like no.
let's see how it goes.
Does you want to hear play 3?
The one that just came out.
Kaji's hand is progressing pretty nicely, except there are too many pairs in there. They're all connected to other other tiles, and so they can become other shapes, but it's still slightly awkward for now. And nobody is calling for the Tanya. Has to drop the 1, and we'll have to drop the 9, but otherwise it's fine, honestly. Yeah.
He's going for pow.
Nobody just keeps going on the cheat train.
He's going the distance.
And this doesn't help Kaji at all because he's going to be more likely to continue discarding side tiles, which will have a higher propensity of being called since nobody is going for that.
Yeah. The only saving grace is that he's likely to use both of the tiles that nobody needs. So it's unlikely that he'll feed too much more for now, but it is possible in the near future for that to happen. And then seems like Gina's hand is slowing down. No more of those godly draws
What you do
from
in this
before.
situation?
And
Well, so she drew the 3-pin, and discarded the door in response.
no, 6-pin is the door.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Yeah, it's confusing, so it's fine. Oh, Kaji is getting a Chitoitsu, which means that, yeah, discarding the 7, so, and then now nobody's in Tenpai for a 4-7. Luckily, 2 of the 4s are in Kaji's hand. Unluckily, 2 of the 4 mons are in Gina's hand, and Gina is somewhat likely to drop one of them, unless she uses it as a pair.
No! What have you done?
Oh, we're on the last deal already. Yeah. We're probably gonna be equally
How could you do this to me, Nick?
So the Chitoitsu actually works very well in Kaji's favor, because Riichi Tanya Chitoitsu is enough to get him above nobody if he sumos it.
That's what happens when you have desperation.
Immediately.
Nick gets into Tenpai, but it's Yakuless, so hopefully Nick does not try to call
That dragon was
Roan at any point, at least for now.
Mistakes were made.
Okay, just get rid of all your 1s, 9s, and auto tiles. Like he did.
Oh no. Gina drew the 6-mon, which means hard decisions. Right now she's gonna drop the 1-pin, and then probably will drop the 2-so in order to wait on the 4-7, or draw the 4-7 and wait on the 3-6 or so.
Which actually saves her from dealing into nobody.
Yep, this is the best case scenario for Gina.
I can't win with that tile. You jerk face. I mean, I could, but then I'd chomp.
Kaji is unfortunately just drawing a bunch of honor tiles, or terminal tiles, which he doesn't want to use because he wants to save it for the Tanya. So Kaji is making the correct decision to drop the 2-pin because he already sees another 2 out. So despite 6-pin being a middle tile, it's in his best interest to just to keep it. Unfortunately, doesn't seem like he's gonna be able to draw his tiles anytime soon. And Nick passes up on that 7, so he recognizes that he doesn't have a Yaku, so that's good. I think right now, Nick's strategy is to just take the Tenpai payments and hope that Kaji is not also in Tenpai, because that would be enough to put Nick above Kaji in points. And with the speed of Kaji's hand is actually somewhat likely, just because of how Chitoitsu is.
Yeah, Chichoitsu, especially when you're waiting for middle tiles, is difficult because usually people are holding on to them.
Well, even before you get to the point where you're waiting on other people, it's just hard to draw the right tiles in the first place. Kaji draws the 7 so, and he's deciding about what to do. I guess the correct, yeah. I guess the correct thing to do here is to just drop a safe tile, probably the 9 so.
I would have a winning hand if I had kept it close.
The 7 so was also discarded 2 turns earlier, so it's somewhat safe.
There goes the 9.
Yep. There's also the possibility for him to just call the 6 so if it ever comes out, and then drop the 9-pin, and then he can sumo on the 6-pin. Unlikely, but it's possible.
Kaji is now
Oh,
for the 4-pin.
yep, Kaji drew that 6-pin
The funny thing
just
is,
now, so
I know.
But Tanya Chitoitsu is 100 and won't be enough.
Had you kept your head
I think
So-
it's enough if he sumos it. Sumo Tanya Chitoitsu is 4 and 25.
Yes.
Oh shoot, I dropped the door.
By staying Damaten, the only way he can actually overtake is if he sumos it himself.
Yes. I think he figures that because it's the end of the round and it is all last, he doesn't want to just give up 1,000 points like for free. And then yeah, that's it.
He's into nobody, and
it's great when the rest of us are
that
That's still
CP.
Riichi in second. So good job to our anonymous nobody player for getting first.
because there's a
And good job to Kaji for keeping his second.
I'm sorry that
overall was a pretty close game.
Yep, very close. So, thank you for watching. This is Patrick from the Riichi Mahjong Club.
And this is Edwin.
Yep. See you next time.
It's all good. GG's. What is that? 1,200? About 10
I need lots of things back.
now.